And if I just open up one of these textbooks, I do not automatically know which is their V and which is their nu. And so I look for this formula to tell me. When I find the formula, I know the speed is equal to the frequency times the wavelength, and that tells me, that's what their V looks like, that's what the nu looks like. And potentially this is the last time we mentioned nu. But I just wanted to bring it up in case you run across it in your travels. My first year here, one of the nanotech students came to my office, really confused, and said, I keep looking at this formula and I can't figure out why there are two V's in it. And then I went through this bit and said, no, one of them's not a V. That's where I put it. All right, questions here before, I think we're about to go up to the hallway.
What is the SI unit per wavelength?
Oh, yes, thank you. What do you think it is? Pardon?
Oh, I said, I don't know.
Did someone else say something? Why do you say that? You're absolutely right. Meters. See if I can find an even worse marker. It is a length. It is a distance. And meters per cycle if you wanted to flesh it out a little bit more. All right. I need this. Let's head out to the hallway, and unlike all the other times I've recorded this class, I'm actually going to pause this. Did this thing fall over? Did somebody picked it up?
Yeah.
Oh. No. No need to apologize. Just sanity check. Good enough. All right, so let's talk about the harmonics there. So for two fixed ends. Fixed end means it's not moving, so the simplest that you could have would look like this. I got my two nodes, one antinode. I've got node, antinode, node. Now, I'm not claiming that in the middle it's in both places at once. It's just the way it's written when you're talking about the fact this thing's vibrating back and forth. So this is the first harmonic. Second harmonic is we're going to add a half of a wave. So, well, let's actually talk about what a wave is. A full wave, up, down, and back up again. That's a full wave. Or if I did it as a standing wave, I would draw it like that. This is one full wave. So how many waves is that? Yeah.
It's
So-
1 or a half.
Pardon?
Is that 1 or a half?
It's a half. Because a full wave
Oh,
is going to
yeah.
have two of these.
Mm-hmm.
So this distance from here, from end to end, is some length L. We're just saying that L is a half of a wave. Or we just say half a wavelength. The second harmonic. I got my two endpoints. They have to be nodes because they're fixed. There's going to be a node in the middle. It should be more symmetric than the way I'm drawing it right there. I'm assuming your notes will look less tumor. Wow. I'm stopping there. All right, so that would be the second harmonic. How many waves is that?
2, no, 1.
One wave. So L is equal to the wavelength. The third harmonic. They're supposed to be equal size. How many waves is that? So L is equal to 3 halves of the whole wave, or L is equal to 1.5 wavelengths. And hopefully you're seeing a pattern here, so that, because every time you start out with a half wave, then 1 wave, then 3 halves waves, and then what would the next one be?
2.
Right? And just add a half wave every time. Matter of fact, we're going to look at this is 2 fixed ends, we'll look at 2 free ends, and then 1 fixed, 1 free. And the one thing that is common to all of them is that every time you go to the next harmonic, you add a half a wave. So let's actually demonstrate this. That was the string I meant to put in here. Oh, you know what? It's going to go with this for right now. All right, so this is known as a string vibrator. This is oscillating up and down. Since this is plugged directly into our main power supply here, it is vibrating up and down 60 times a second. Because the frequency of our electric current is 60 hertz. And I think it's pretty much either 60 or 50 throughout the world. I think Europe's 50. So I can add tension on this, which is basically changing the speed of the wave. And as the speed of the wave changes, how many waves that can pass through changes. And so if I apply, how well can you see that? That's not moving. If you ever watch the video of my doing this lab with this stuff, that probably had the most profanity edited out of it of any lab I've done. It'll be for the outtake reel. Must be over 18 to watch. All right, so as I add tension to it, I've got a certain, I think that's still moving over there. All right, I think that's roughly the first harmonic right there. I guess, Lydia, you're farthest away. Can you see it? And I guess, Luis, you're good? Yeah. And Kimberly and Alvaro? Okay. If I loosen up the tension, So I'm basically going to lift up on this, and I get other harmonics. So that is the second harmonic right there-ish. There'll be more. Is that third harmonic? I'm having trouble seeing that. So what did I stick on 100 here? Well, that is not a harmonic because in the harmonics, each of these loops should be the same size, and so it looks like I have one loop here and then another loop right there. So part of it is, and one of the reasons why I almost switched out at the last moment, is this has an extra knot in it, which is doing funky stuff. Yeah, so that's roughly the third harmonic right there. I should have used a different string, but we're here now. So by adjusting the tension in the string here, because the tension in the string, if I'm not touching it, the tension in the string is equal to the weight of what's hanging. By adjusting the speed of the wave, it adjusts the number of the harmonic that's in play here. Questions at this point? All right. Let's take a 5-minute break. I'm going to grab one other piece of equipment that I should have done earlier, and then we'll talk about one fixed, one free. All right, we'll roll. All right, so let's take a look at one fixed, one free. So physically, what's happening here is this is going to be the one fixed, one free apparatus that we're dealing with. That the fixed end is the end with the water. It's a solid surface. When the sound hits it, it's going to basically invert. This is the free end up here where it's open. Whenever you have two fixed ends, you've got two nodes at the ends. You got one fixed, one free. You've got one fixed, one node, and one antinode. And so the simplest pattern is basically that. I got my fixed end down here. This is my fixed node. And this is an antinode. This is my free end. How many waves is that? It's a quarter. So this distance here is L. This is the first harmonic. It is the simplest with one fixed, one free. So this is the first harmonic. All right. Before I draw the second harmonic, I would like you to sort of picture what it's going to look like and how many wavelengths it will be. Just a moment to think on that. Anyone bold enough to actually try to draw it up here?
Sure.
I assume you were volunteering as opposed to just making a general comment about someone's gonna be brave enough.
Can you explain to me how this is one harmonic again, please?
Pardon?
Can you explain how this is one harmonic again?
The first harmonic is the simplest pattern I can have, where I've got one fixed and one free end.
Okay. So would that look something like,
So you're doing the next harmonic.
like that?
Yes, it would. How many waves is that?
1.5?
Not 1.5.
That's embarrassing.
Okay. There we go. It's 3/4. Because remember, the full wave looks like that, and all we've done is basically chop that last quarter off. So this is the L equals 3/4 of a wavelength. Now, I think I did misspeak a moment ago. This is actually not the second harmonic. This is the third harmonic.
Okay.
There is no second harmonic. And it's just the way that the powers that be decided they were going to name this. It really comes down to the fact that this is 3 times that.
So that's not the second harmonic?
It's officially the third harmonic. It's the next one. It's the next harmonic. There's no second harmonic when you're dealing with one fixed, one free.
Why is it no second? Because it's a free end?
Yeah, because I need one fixed and one free, and this is just the next simplest pattern. And it's not called the second harmonic, even though it's the second one, because they just wanted to confuse people.
Well, because it's open at the top, so it's free, so it can't complete that. No?
Yeah, we don't want to complete that. I guess the second harmonic would be halfway between there. I'm not quite sure what that would look like. It gets drawn off there. It's the next harmonic. Yes. Now, I'm sure there's video out there where I call this the second harmonic. That's just because at some point I realized I was wrong. The next harmonic would be the, yep, so the fifth harmonic. Wait, 5 times what we started with, but we add a half wavelength, add half a wave each time. So we start out with a quarter, then we add a half, we get 3/4, we add a half, we get 5/4. It's supposed to look symmetrical. And ideally, this top bit would be half the length of one of these other loops. You know what? I'm gonna see if I can actually draw this properly. Something like that, and this distance here is L. Now, what does that actually sound like? Well, thus our one fixed, one free sound tube. So we can adjust the length because the sound is going to be traveling in the air. So basically from the top to here, the sound will be traveling that length. So that is the length, that would be L right there. I can change the value of L just by moving this up or down. If I move this up, the water level moves up. It will move up until it is at the same level as the water inside the reservoir. So when it stops, So the water inside here must be somewhere around there. Eventually get the water. Water is about that far underneath. It's the long finger. Now, to adjust this with some stability, we have to move this up and down. And unfortunately, you just heard a little bit of it. I'm going to try to be careful, but no guarantee I'm not going to end up with scraping metal against metal. At least it's not fingernails on a chalkboard. Anyone heard fingernails on a chalkboard in here? We got a couple people. 1, 2, 3. All right, we got. Flashing back, it's the first time I made a reference to a 33, in reference to an album, and have a student go, "What's that?" At some point, fingernails on a chalkboard, I'm gonna get, "What's that?" All right, so right now the water level in the reservoir should be somewhere around here. They should be the same. Air is pushing down, basically air pressure is pushing down on both sides until it levels out. Now all I have to do is sound the sound wave down there. Now the sound wave is going to be at some particular frequency. It's going to hit the bottom here, and then it's going to bounce back up. It's going to interfere with itself. So what we should expect is that when I get L just the right length, I'm going to get an anti-note here. Now with sound, what would an anti-note sound like? This is when we have the greatest difference with sound. It's dealing with the difference in pressure. This is when we have the greatest difference in pressure. What would that do to your eardrum?
Would it hurt with it?
It shouldn't hurt.
Vibrate.
What was that?
It'll make it vibrate.
Keep going. How would we notice that our eardrum is vibrating more?
By hearing. I don't want to know, but by hearing the sound, I guess.
How would that sound differ than if we were listening to this sound?
Would it be higher or lower?
Not higher.
Lower?